So, just gonna go through these quickly. Have you heard of Marion Zimmer Bradley? Well, we've got some old stuff of his. I'm not sure if I'm confusing him with Lonely or not, but I think um the Trillium, Black Trillium, I forget who I'm pretty sure that was Brad. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check. Okay, I was wrong. But anyways, welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina K-R-S-T-I-N-A. This is where we read books, talk about books, no special effects, no fancy schmancy stuff going on here. We've got some old sci-fi. Old sci-fi. Some of this is in decrepit condition. Some of it's in good condition. So, I should have put this side down. This is gonna bug me now. Me too. Okay. So we're gonna start out with the good condition. Jack L. Chalker, Shadow of Wells of Souls. Immortal, unchanging, the eternal survivor, Nathan Brazil had tired of his long duty as the guardian of Well World and had enlisted Maeva Chang, space pilot and adventurer, as his companion and equal, sharing with her some of his power to control the universe's destiny. But over the millennia, Brazil and Chang became estranged, and when they were once again called to the well, each went alone. What they found was a well changed in ways that it should not have been. It was not just their local inhabitants had put a price on their heads, or that Brazil and Chang were constantly stymied in their separate journeys to the Well of Souls. Evolution itself had not diverged from its present course, and that was impossible. So this is kind of new. Let's see. 1994. And another Jack L. Chalker, Echoes of the Well of Souls. Is that the same book? No, Shadow Echoes. So it's the same. It's book one of the series. Another guy we know quite well, John Scalzi, The Consuming Fire. The interdependency humans' interstellar empire is on the verge of collapse. Extra dimensional conduit that makes travel between the stars possible is disappearing, leaving entire systems of human civilization stranded. I should put this on my Star Trek. Maybe we'll put it on the Star Trek one. Alright, now, here's some Marion Zimmer Bradley. Pastor Lord. Regis was the heir to the most powerful domain on Darkover. When his grandfather died, he would inherit the title of HASTUR, Regent of Darkover, king in everything but name. But ironically, his mantle was the last thing Regis ever wanted, for he dreamed of a different kind of life, a life with freedom to live and love like an ordinary man. That's a thick book. Darkover, The 100 Kingdoms. Book 2. HARKMISTRESS. Storm Queen. A little on the rough side. The Winds of Darkover. How old is this? 1970. Bradley Zimmer. I'm tongue-tied today. The Fall of NESKAYA? High in the mountain, Heller's Corin Linnea, adolescent son of a minor nobleman, wakes from a nightmare of ravening forest fire only to find the fire is real. Running toward the fire lines, Corin fights to suppress waves of nausea and dizziness, feelings that have come more and more frequent over the passing month, to help his kinsmen, as the inhabitants of Van Outlands, noblemen and commoner alike, struggle hopelessly to contain the worst fire in memory. All seems lost, doomed by uncontrollable flames, until help arrives unexpectedly in the person of Romula. A Romulus summoning tortilla tower sends firefighting chemicals carried by the air glider, and the fire is contained. Oh, good God, this one's been taped up the yin yang. Massively taped. Heavily taped. Sorry. 1975. Here's your synopsis. Dark Lover Landfall. Somebody really treated their books severely. The Bloody Sun. There's your back. City of Sorcery. Heirs of Hammerfell. And I think that's it for him. Now we have a couple of different other guys. Jack Campbell. Captain John Blackjack Gary has come home after a century of cryogenic sleep to find the war between the Alliance and the Syndicate world still raging. A legendary hero, he was promoted to Fleet Admiral even though the ruling council fears he may stage a military coup. The Lost Stars. Oops, I dropped it. President Gwen Eisen and General Artur have successfully liberated the Midway star system, but the dictatorial former rulers of the Syndicate world won't surrender the region without a fight. The Lost Star Shattered Spear. The Syndicate worlds continue to splinter as more star systems pledge allegiance to the President Gwen and General Artur's new government of Midway. But the rebels fleeing the toxic Syndicate rule have difficulty trusting one another and believing their new leaders' promise of freedom. The Lost Files, Courageous. Alliance has been fighting a losing battle against the Syndicate worlds for over a century. Now Captain Jack Black Geary, who has returned the fleet after 100 years suspended animation, must keep the Alliance one step ahead of its merciless foes. The Lost Fleet. Relentless. Thawed out of their century cryogenic sleep, Captain Jack Black Geary has led the Alliance fleet through the Syndicate world space, thwarting the enemy at every turn, even with his own ranks during the long journey home. Alliance prisoners of the war are being held at labor camp in the star system, which also happens to be the location of the majority of the survivor Syndicate warships. Determined not to leave any of his people behind, Black Jack Geary orders the fleet to strike hard and fast to rescue the POWs. Now, we've got a couple of Stirlings. The cop detective Lieutenant Harry Carmaggio has plenty of blood both in Cambodia and in 20 years of police work. He'd never seen anything like the Warehouse Massacre. In the mid-1870s, a violent spray of comets hit Earth, decimating cities, erasing shorelines, and changing the world's climate forever. Just as Earth's temperature dropped, so civilization frozen in time. Instead of advancing technology, humanity had to piece itself back together. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Here's another Stirling. Against the tide of years. You knocked my leaning tower of Pisa off. Gonna be um in the years since the event, the Republic of Nantucket has done its best to recreate the better ideas of the modern age. But the evils of time, it's resurfaced in the prison of William Walker, renegade Coast Guard officer, who was busy building an empire for himself based on the conquest of technology. When Walker reaches Greece and recruits several of their greatest kinglets to the cause, the people of Nantucket have no choice. If they are to save the primitive world from being plunged in bloodshed on the 20th century scale, they must defeat Walker at his own game. We've got some boxes here. Oh, I forgot I had her brush here. Um, two more Stirlings. A taint in the blood. Eons ago, Homo nocturnes ruled the earth, possessing extraordinary powers. They were the source of all manner of myths and legends. Though their numbers have been greatly reduced, they still exist, though not as purebreds. If it wasn't sci-fi, I'd say it could sound like a vampire. Conquistador. Oakland, 1946, ex-soldier John Rolfe Newly Black from Pacific made a fabulous discovery. A portal to an alternate America where Europeans have never set foot and the only other humans in sight are a band of very curious Indians. Able to return at will to the modern world, Rolfe summons the only people with whom he is willing to share his discoveries, his war buddies. You think he should? Alright, now we have some uh Stephen White here, and a couple of David Weber's. And we'll just go through these a little on the quick side. Uh, uh, what's that? Let's go through. Michael Z. Williamson, A Long Time Until Now. Better to beg forgiveness. A sellout, a poor nation on a poor planet engaged in civil war, and a haven for every military type of villainy in space is ripe for cleanup. The military could pacify it handily, but it would take a statesman to fix it. But statesmen have ethics which politicians and megacorps find inconvenient. Uh-huh. Celadon's president Bishwas compounded the sin by being astute, ambitious, and capable. Something had to be done because a working nation isn't much use for pork and graft. Okay? The weapon. Angels? Angel yes or eyes or something? Forge of Titans? When Derek Seacrest was suddenly pulled out of the Naval Flight Officer School to take part in a top secret government project involving telepathy because tests showed that he had a strong latent talent for PSI powers, he thought things couldn't get weirder. He was wrong. Wolf Among the Stars. Michael Z. Williamson, Do Unto Others. At one time, the Prescott family were just Welsh coal miners. Then they broke through with the technology needed to exploit the subsurface ores of entire planets. This created the problem of being the richest people in the universe because money is a small blessing when enemies are quite willing to spend billions, so the chance at trillions. Okay? How's it going there, Smoke? David Weber, The Mighty Fortress. Look at this thing. It's huge. Over 1,000 pages. Not yet even 30 years old, Caleb, however you say his last name, has won the most crushing naval victories in human history. He smashed a hostile alliance of no less than 5 princedoms and won the hand of a beautiful queen, Charlene of Chiselham. Together they've created the Carisian Empire, the greatest naval power in the history of the Safehold, and they've turned Charis into a place of refuge for all who treasure freedom. The planet-wide Church of God awaiting has decreed their destruction. Since the first attempt to crush the heretics failed, the Church has no choice but to adopt some of the hated Charisian innovations for themselves. Soon a mighty fleet will sail against Charis, destroying everything in its path. Why? By Heresies Distressed. Sandy! What is she? What are you after? I think a fly got in the house. Once before, the sending races in the known part of the galaxy had united against alien invaders. Decades have since passed and new generations have grown complacent, dangerously so. Long ago, much of the population of an entire planet fled the world before its sun went nova in thousands of ships, each one larger than a city. Now the Armada has arrived at the world they intend to make their new home. They regard the fact that the planet is already colonized by humans a mere inconvenience. Uh-huh. Ah. We few march to the stars. Crusade. Uh, march to sea. Prince Roger McClintock, Terrio heir to the throne of man, has a spoiled, rotten, arrogant, whiny, thoroughly useless young pain in the butt. But that was before the royal brat and his bodyguards were marooned on Marduk by an assassin attempt. Before they found themselves facing 100-degree heat in the jungles where it rained 5 or 6 hours a day. During the dry season before they had to march away around the entire planet through damn beasts, cape toads, killer pillars, and something else I can't pronounce. Crusade. March to the Stars. Roger Ramus Sigil Alexander Ching McClintock has really bad news. Bad enough to be spoiled rotten fop of a prince sent off on a meaningless diplomatic mission, simply to get you out of from underfoot. Worse yet, to be marooned on a hellhole planet while you and your bodyguard of marines fight your way through carnivorous beasts and murderous natives to the only starport, which is controlled by the Empire's worst enemies. Insurrection, David Weber, and did we do this review? Yeah. Roger Ramus, Sergei Alexander Ching McClintock, the Playboy Prince, has grown up the hard way. He's fought his way across the half-held planet of Marduk against murderous flora, fauna, and natives. Along the way, he's watched 90% of his bodyguards, who've become closer to him than his own family, die to keep him alive. And that is the end of my pile here. My pile. My pile of books. And more books. And more books. Did you see anything? Oh, good Lord. I hope you have a good day. And don't forget to check out next week's. There's a few more. Maybe not. Maybe nope, a box of fiction, I think. I'm not sure. I haven't seen it yet. Have a good one.